Ditus Mito, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Safari Mack Returns to Africa. I'm Safari Mack, your guide and host, helping you make connections to the wild. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're still hanging out here in the Kalahari Desert, but today we're going to say goodbye to the honey badger and go off with the caracal, otherwise known as simply Caracal. Now, what makes this cat so special? Well, believe it or not, biologists have been able to say that this cat is considered to have a higher success rate in hunting than that of lions. So we're going to go off on the hunt with these guys, but before we begin, if you're new to my channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Check out my Facebook page for content on conservation. And if you have a question about animals, or if there's an animal you want me to do in the future, you just have to look down in the description below with this video and send me an email. But if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get started. Now, we'll talk about first, of course, with its evolution and its family. Now, its family is considered to be part of the little cat family, which includes many cats such as ocelots, cheetahs, cougars, pumas, mountain lions. Even your typical house cat is considered to be part of this family. And of course, we've met others already. We met the Florida panther and we met the Canadian lynx back in our time in North America. But now the caracal here has a very special lineage. In fact, it's said that they were thought to along with their close living cousins, the serval and the African golden cat, they had a common Asian ancestor from around 8.5 million years ago. Now, the serval was said to have been first by appearing around 5.6 million years ago, while the African golden cat and the caracal both have diverged from each other roughly around 1.9 million or almost 2 million years ago. Now, in terms of habitat and their lifestyle and their reproduction, these guys have it pretty good. They are highly adaptable animals, just like the honey badger, and able to inhabit different parts of Africa, as well as that of parts of the Middle East and a little bit into India. And they can survive in many different habitats, from woodlands to savannas, scrub forest. They've eaten desert fringes like here in the Kalahari. They've even been spotted hanging out in the coastal regions, so not bad for a cat. Not bad for a cat, huh? Now, you would only see these cats at night since they are nocturnal. However, they have been known to also be active during the day, but more often than not, their hunting usually takes place at night. And now, also, while they are generally a solitary species, that's not to say that they haven't been seen hunting together in pairs, whether it's a male and a female coming together to breed, or if it's mom with little kittens. By the time they're around 15 months old or so, they begin their reproduction lives, though they are known to be sexually mature a little earlier. After a gestation period of around 2 to 3 months, mom can give birth anywhere from 1 to 6 cubs. By 3 months of age, they start learning how to make their own kills, and then finally, by 10 months, they're considered to be old enough to be able to go off on their own and make their own way, carving out their own territory and finding their own food to hunt. So now let's get into their diet, and we're going to look at some of their wild things. Now, I know that when it comes to hunting, maybe these cats aren't as extreme as killing like a zebra or gazelle or other animals like that, like the lion. But as I've mentioned earlier, these guys actually have a higher success rate than that of lions. Here's why. Most of their diet is small mammals, which actually makes up around 80% of their diet. But of course, they are also known to eat birds. They are known to eat reptiles and even insects. And it has been seen that they will sometimes attack like very, 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 very small antelope, like maybe babies. But like I said, that's just kind of a maybe once in a while kind of deal that they will do. Now, for a little bit about their wild things. So these guys have because of their strong hind legs, they can jump up high into the air, roughly around. They're said to jump nearly 10 feet into the air to catch birds. So this actually brings up an interesting bit of their human culture as well. Indian rulers often place the caracals with pigeons in an arena to allow the people to bet on which pigeon they thought the caracal would catch. This kind of gives a little bit of a saying to, or the expression of, to put the cat among the pigeons. And now another pretty interesting wild thing, their ear tufts. Now, it's not really just for style, it's actually a form of communication. Scientists have actually observed these animals communicating with one another by moving their heads side to side so that the ear tufts kind of flicker rapid. But just like all other little cats, they're known to hiss, growl, spit, purr, and of course, meow. Now, let's get into the influence in the human culture, as well as some of the challenges that these creatures unfortunately face. Now, in Egypt, they were highly revered and seen as many paintings and bronze figures, and they were even thought to be made as sculptures as guards of the pharaoh's tombs. And interestingly enough, along with cheetahs and even certain birds of prey, rulers from India and even in China, they would actually purchase these cats in exchange for gold, silver, even silk, as a way of making a living, because these cats often lived somewhat of a life of luxury, but they were also working animals. They were often brought out when the rulers in either China or in India decided to go on a hunt. So it was pretty interesting how they've been able to do so well there, especially those that were living in the Central Asia area. However, today their survival in Central Asia is threatened because they suffer being killed as a form of revenge for the loss of their livestock. Now, thankfully in Africa, this is not the case. In fact, while the Central Asian subspecies is labeled as critically endangered, over in Africa, the cats themselves are labeled as near threatened, so thankfully they're not endangered. Now we talk about, finally, their conservation measures that we're taking into effect. Now, while the caracals still do fight, they do, prey upon the farmers' livestock and cause problems, farmers are trying to help these cats survive. One way is that they are actually encouraged to be able to report whether they are dead or alive, or the livestock that were killed by caracals, to the National Predation Management Information Center. And thanks to this cat's amazing ability to survive, and because of people observing them, they are more tolerant, it seems, of human interference as well as human habitation. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid that's all the time I have for this week's episode. Interesting that we got through this hunt pretty quick without getting one single scratch. Actually, I need to get back to my insurance with that. But join me next time as we look into the lives of the meerkat colony. But until then, this is Safari Mack, and I'll see you all out there.